Oh man, I love how we end up killing all these zombies. I wish I can actually do this in real life. Huh? Wait, hang on. What's going on? God damn it, that's the second time that I've been randomly teleported to a particular game that I do not want to be in. Well, I did actually wish for this, so who am I to judge, really? But, since I'm here, this particular game series has been long overdue for a review for my channel. And yes, my fellow time travelers are your hosts, Planetary. From the Planetary Ashes will happily take you time travelers throughout time and space to look at the 5 games of the particular series that I actually adore a lot. Starting off from Willamette, where we're going to be taking on the journey of Frank West, looking at the outbreak that has happened throughout Willamette and uncover the truth of what really happened there. All the way to Fortune City for Chuck Green saving his own daughter, or playing as Frank West for Off the Record to uncover the truth and get back into the game. All the way back to Los Paradiso to actually look at Ted of how he managed to become the sole survivor of this particular city. All the way back to Willamette once more, from Frank West's final fight to uncover the whole entire truth of the outbreak that has happened at Willamette again for Dead Rising 4. So, feel free to grab your mischief weapon, your orange juice, and your survival skills, as we're going to be chopping our way through these zombie apocalypse to uncover the truth of what really have happened throughout these cities. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dead Rising Marathon.
Almost as if everyone's already dead.
I thought Santa Cabeza was over and done with.
It's Frank West. Remember that name, because the whole world's gonna know it in 3 days.
Come on! Follow me! Come on!
With it being published by Capcom, with the director Yoshiniro Kawano, sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, and produced by Keiji Inafune, with Capcom using a new engine for the 7th generation console, with the engine being called as MT Framework, with the game going underneath a different name, project name Snatcher, being a zombie project that was inspired by Romero's movie Dawn of the Dead. Despite the similarities of the game being located at the mall and able to use any items as weapons to take out the zombies, and able to spawn in nearly 800 of zombies in each location of the mall, comes an open world beat 'em up hack and slash survival horror action adventure that released 4 more installments later on for later consoles, is none other than Dead Rising, with the first installment being released only for the Xbox 360 on the 8th of August 2006. With the game being a commercial success and became part of the Xbox 360 Platinum Hill, but also having a Wii version of Dead Rising Chop to Your Drop, where the gameplay differs, which sadly I don't have the game to experience it, with the game being released on February 2009 for the Wii. And in 2016, with the game series hitting its 10th anniversary, the Dead Rising Triple Pack, Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 2 Off the Record was remastered for the PS4, Xbox One and PC, all being released on September 13th, which in this review marathon, the first 3 Dead Rising games we will be looked over from the Triple Threat Pack. Now, before I get into the story, for you zombie fans out there, massive spoiler warning. If you don't want to hear the story and want to experience the game yourself, then I recommend skipping to this timeline here. I'll give you 5 seconds. Right, can't say I didn't warn you. You play as Frank West, a freelance photojournalist that got a tip-off of a conspiracy outbreak that is happening at Willamette, Colorado. With getting a helping hand from Ed DeLuca for flying transportation, Frank and Ed heads to Willamette via chopper to collect the scoop. While traveling to Willamette, Frank spotted some army forces blocking the entrance to Willamette to contain the outbreak and not let anyone in or out via road. With spare time, Frank took some photos of the outbreak via street. Holy shit, do you got yourself a death wish there? And building rooftops. Ouch. Human pancake. While going over the plans that they set out to be back to pick Frank up in 3 days, the army set out their own chopper to chase down Frank and Ed. While evading the army chopper and having a brief second hovering over the helipad, Frank leaped out of the chopper and landed on the helipad to give Ed a quick exit out. Recovering from the landing and being greeted by a mysterious person that was waiting, which is Carlito later in the game, saying this to Frank.
Almost as if everyone's already dead.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the creepy vibes, Carlito. To confirm what Carlito said, Frank looks over the surveillance footage to see a helpless woman trying to escape the mob, but ends up being eaten alive. Being shocked of the results of the camera footage, Frank makes his way to the entrance plaza, seeing the survivors carrying objects to the main entrance, forming a blockade. While this old bat running around looking for her precious Madonna. Oh boy, I got a feeling shit's gonna hit sideways very shortly. Frank! Now's no time to go goo-goo eyes right now! Oh, thank you fella for snapping him out and giving him a rundown of saying what you're keeping out of the mall is none other than zombies. Being ordered to find some objects to add towards the blockade to keep the zombies out, Frank went towards the grate of the entrance plaza and able to find more objects. About ready to pick some objects up, Frank found an old fella on the other side of the grate. While trying to take a photo of him, he came rushing towards Frank and about ready to hit Frank with a cane. Goddamn. Failing to do so, he just went on his merry way just exploring the other side of the plaza. Watching him wander off, this old bat decided to dismantle the barricade. Wow, a demo man would be jealous of her. Only to open the door to save her dog. Well, way to go, you old dingbat. Not only did you get yourself eaten alive, but you also got other survivors eaten alive. With quick thinking, Frank makes his way to the stairway and to the surveillance room with 3 other survivors. Brad, Jesse, and our good old janitor Otis. While Brad is heading back into the field, Frank and Jesse are going through the photos, finding something of interest. After the chat, Frank heads back to the mall. While going through the storage area, Frank felt he was being followed. Grabbing the nearest object, being a fire extinguisher, was about ready to brain his first zombie. Going for a swing, both Jesse and Frank startled each other, leaving Jesse with a twisted ankle. Jesse was on her way to save Brad from the food plaza from getting shot at by a mysterious gunner. Frank asked Jesse to give him the gun so he can make his way to the food court. Daydreaming and wandering around the food plaza, Frank almost got shot. Making his way to the cover and seeing Brad covering fire at the mysterious gunner, who happened to be Carlito. Going into the battlefield with a spare pistol, both Frank and Brad return fire on Carlito, till he makes a quick exit to the rooftop using a rope, with Frank and Brad losing sight of Carlito. Frank and Brad gave each other a proper introduction and explaining that both Jesse and Brad are from the DHS department. Knowing they were looking for someone, Frank, in a smart-ass way, decided to give Brad a bit of a helping hand to find his old folk at the entrance plaza. Heading towards the entrance plaza, they found Dr. Barnaby taking safe procedures in a bookstore. Being stubborn and refusing to be taken somewhere else for a safe place, Brad and Frank returned back to the surveillance room. Discussing how to give Dr. Butterby a secure route out of the mall and out of Willamette, Frank gave Brad and Jesse his plan that his ride will be arriving in 3 days. Able to escape the mall and Willamette after he get his scoop, also getting other survivors out of town. With a game plan in motion, They've killed a couple of hours looking for food and drinks to hunker down for 3 days. Looking over the surveillance camera, Jesse has spotted something odd at one of the plazas, and Frank having a look as well, able to spot Dr. Barnaby being dragged by Carlito, and Carlito opening the grate for the entrance plaza. Brad going to the entrance plaza to attempt and save Dr. Barnaby, and not so far behind, Frank followed, going through the entrance plaza trying to look for Dr. Barnaby. Brad tackled Frank to cover to avoid getting shot by Carlito and his heavy-duty sniper rifle. Having a clear shot, Brad makes a run and gun to Carlito, trading shots with Carlito at the shoulder and Brad at the knee, with Carlito making a run for it to the nearest exit. Frank and Brad rescued Dr. Barnaby and returned back to the surveillance room safe and sound. Oh wait, are you okay, Brad? With Jesse looking over Brad, Brad is forming a fever that requires medication first aid. Heading to the North Plaza where the supermarket is, Frank is greeted by...
I don't allow vandalism in my store!
a high-strung store clerk, with one of the survivors we saw earlier in the trolley knocked out by the store clerk. With the store clerk serving his last customer for life, he...
Clean up! Register 6!
Yep, called out the cleaners. But also dropped the keys, allowing Frank to get into the pharmaceutical. Helping the woman back on her feet, she leaves the store and gives Frank a few words that shocks him, but also makes him wonder more about the scoop. Retrieving the first aid and applying it to Brad, Brad is making a quick recovery from the fever. After discussing the incident, but also mentioning a certain location of Santa Cabeza, hearing that incident, Dr. Barnaby come too, and gave a short story of what happened at Santa Cabeza to Jesse, but not Frank. Unable to get the story from Dr. Barnaby, Frank waits at the surveillance camera to find the woman from before. As hours gone by, Frank spotted her again going back to the supermarket. Hightailing to the North Plaza to catch her before she goes, the woman is willing to fend off Frank with a motorcycle. Getting knocked off the motorcycle and kicking Frank in the... Yep, that hurts. Frank restrains her from furthermore attacks towards Frank. Knowing that she won't run anymore and knowing she could help Frank by understanding the zombie outbreak. Telling Frank a little bit of information of Santa Cabeza. Yes, this is becoming a theme of this plot, so expect that to happen a lot. But can't go into more details since Carlito is the one with the whole story. Isabella, since we actually got her name later on, planning to do a meetup for an exclusive interview for Frank to get his scoop at midnight with Carlito. Returning to the surveillance room to check up on Brad, Jesse and Dr. Barnaby. Hearing more from Dr. Barnaby's version of Santa Cabeza, saying it was a drug cartel but was leaving some holes that makes everyone curious. What are you hiding, Dr. Barnaby? As midnight gone by, Frank waits for Isabella and Carlito at the meeting spot. As several minutes gone by, Isabella barged through the door with a zombie toppling on top of her and ready to bite her. With quick thinking, Frank kills the zombie and helps Isabella back on her feet. Looking at the wounds on her, it was done by Carlito. Her own brother shot her at the arms. Slowly passing out, Frank heads back to the surveillance room to give her a safe place and waiting for her to recover. When coming back to the living, we get more information of Santa Cabeza being a parasitic research lab working on some sort of wasp allowed to duplicate the cattle meat. But to get the full truth, we need to ask Dr. Barnaby. While ready to get Dr. Barnaby out of the storage room, Dr. Barnaby barged through the door with Jesse and about ready to bite Jesse. Kicking Barnaby off, we get the full story of what really happened at Santa Cabeza. After Barnaby's last information of Santa Cabeza, he died, only to come back and get shot at the head by Brad. Quick thinking there, Brad, well done. With Isabella quickly attending to aid Jesse to look for any sort of bite mark on Jesse. As hours gone by, we hear Carlito on the PA, calling out Isabella, wanting her to come back to him. After several attempts of calling her to come back, Carlito resorted to the last resort, being a catastrophic plan to blow up the mall and releasing the parasitic larva in the air to infect everyone out of Willamette. Heading to the parking lot from hearing what Isabella told Frank and Brad, both of them search and collect the 5 bombs, but Carlito will not go down without a fight, trying to ram both Frank and Brad with a truck. Unable to gain control of the truck, Carlito flipped it on its side and made a run for it with Brad giving chase. leaving Frank to deal with the disposal of the 5 bombs, using a trolley and heaving and hauling to the exit of the parking lot and a safe distance for the bombs to explode. While that is going on, Brad and Carlito have one last shootout, with Brad getting shot on Carlito in the gut, but Carlito turns the table very quickly, using the pocket knife, stabbing Brad at the back and kicking him outside with the horde of zombies, which leaves Brad being MIA. Heading back to the surveillance room and asking Isabella if there's any more plans that Carlito have told her, but unfortunately she isn't able to tell Frank and Jesse since Isabella is left in the dark, but willing to help Frank out by going to their hideout to find more information of Carlito's plans. Reaching to the hideout, Isabella was unable to log into the computer and unable to turn off the jammer that was hooked in by the computer. Getting radioed by Jesse to come back and look over the surveillance camera. With Frank returning back to the surveillance room, we are able to spot Carlito getting dragged by some big dude to the butcher shop at the parking lot. Hoofing it to the parking lot and the butcher shop to save Carlito from being butchered or becoming mincemeat. Pulling him off the hook, Carlito gave Frank the final piece of information of Santa Cabeza, but also gave him the pendant to give it to Isabella. Heading back to the hideout, Frank gives Isabella the bad news that Carlito has passed away, but also gave Isabella the pendant that Carlito wanted Frank to give. Looking at the photo of her mother and father, she managed to log into the computer and disable the jamming system. Leaving with her thoughts and her research, Jessie radioed Frank saying she's able to reach the emergency line of the DHS agency. After minutes have gone by, Jessie gives Frank the bad news, saying the cleanup squad will be coming to the mall to do a mass cleanup in the mall, zombies or not. At the time the cleanup squad has arrived, a group of soldiers reach the surveillance room to give Jessie a safe evac, as long as she keeps quiet of the incident. But unfortunately, Jessie ends up turning into a zombie and kills the group of soldiers. Getting close to pickup time, Frank makes a run to the rooftop and waits for Ed. With all hopes lost, Frank thought Ed didn't come to pick him up. But waiting over the other building and spotted Frank from a safe distance, Ed hops into the chopper and is about ready to pick up Frank. Making his way to pick up Frank, a zombie ends up biting Ed, leaving Ed losing control of the chopper and crashing at the center of the mall. Hopeless and waiting for his demise, being eaten by a zombie, Isabella saves Frank, but a little late as Frank collapsed to the ground. Back to the hideout, Frank came to, but unfortunately got the bad news saying that he is infected. Looking back at her research, Isabella might be able to slow down the zombification process. Going through the mall to find the right equipment for Isabella, Frank learns more about the drug, but worried that it won't work, saying,
"So, I'll be a walking zombie time bomb."
Yep, which clues in Isabella about a test that Carlito and Isabella had done on 50 kids being infected, but also tested with Isabella drugs to find a cure. Whoa, a little too soon. Knowing they're all over the country, Frank worries if those 50 kids could go off at any minute. After collecting about 12 queens, Isabella was able to make a temporary drug to help Frank and his zombification process. With that sorted, Isabella has enough to make a perfume that zombies don't like. With that mentioned, Frank have an idea of a way out, and the perfume to be in perfect use. Given it one shot, both Frank and Isabella munched their way through the zombie-filled underground tunnels. Being halfway through the tunnel, the perfume almost ran out, with Frank being quick on his feet, giving Isabella a piggyback to hold on the perfume. They make a run for the lever to open the grate, leaving the soldiers distracted by the zombies, and leaving Frank and Isabella free to get into this SUV and make a run for it. Driving to freedom ends up being short though, by dealing with an army tank. After taking out the tank's weak spots, the tank rammed the truck and flipped it on its side. With Frank on the ground, the captain of the cleaning squad pops out of the tank, going into details of what he did at Santa Cabeza, cleaning up the village, killing the zombies, but also yet the non-infected. Being ready to fire the main cannon at Frank, the targeting system turned to face this horde of zombies, giving Frank the chance to fight the captain. After trading blows, the captain falls with a smile on his face. Ugh, creepy, and ends up being eaten alive by the zombies, only leaving Frank and Isabella left alive. But after leaving a massive roar by Frank, the screen goes black, but leaves us dialogue saying that Frank and Isabella was able to escape Willamette and try to expose everything with the story that both Frank and Isabella gathered, but ends up being shut down. Yet Frank complains his belly is not full. Whoa, now that is one driven storyline to go through. Playing as Frank West, going to the depths of Willamette to understand the outbreak, thinking that you as the player thought it was some normal zombie outbreak, but come to realize it was an act of revenge of what happened at Santa Cabeza, but going even more deeper if you reach overtime, that the government was the one that caused the incident. Now that was something that was done right. When it comes to gameplay, there's 3 modes: 72 hours, overtime, and infinite mode. But for newcomers to the Dead Rising series, they will start off with 72-hour modes and later on unlocking 2 other modes depending on how they play the game. 72 hours mode. 72 hours is the main gameplay plot of Dead Rising, where you as a player and Frank try to discover what happens to Willamette, going through 8 cases and finishing up with the facts, playing the full 3 days, surviving the zombie outbreak and getting the full story of what happened at Willamette. Overtime mode. Overtime being an extension for players that finish the 72 hours mode and getting an A ending, allowing players to get 1 more day but only having 3 missions to do: collecting the equipment, queens, and fighting the true end boss, getting the true ending. Infinite mode. Infinite mode is just an open zombie sandbox allowing players to run rampant, killing zombies, but also yet killing survivors from the 72 hours mode in this mode. But keep an eye out on your health, since it depletes 1 health block in several minutes. Do you have what it takes to survive 7 days? In this game there's a variety of weapons to choose from killing zombies using blunt instruments like a 2x4 and a lead pipe, to swords like a katana and some firearms like a pistol and shotguns. But best look at your item slots for some of your weapons. Each weapons have a durability health, with objects requiring to be close and personal will blink red, letting the players know that the object will give way after a few hits, but firearms have an ammo count. Once the gun runs out of bullets, it will break. Don't understand how that works, but okay. So best find the weapons that you would like to have and keep it in your item slots for later on of the game. But other than using weapons or objects, Frank can use his bare hands, either by a simple backhand chop to some wrestling move or disemboweling these zombies. It's just what a rush. When it comes to gameplay overall, Dead Rising does the zombie horror a little bit different. Other than going through stage to stage like Left 4 Dead or Resident Evil, Dead Rising works on a timer. Whether you're in the main case and missed out on continuing the plot by not reaching to a main location in time and end up losing the story, or out of the main case and just killing time by exploring around the mall looking for survivors or just killing zombies to level up Frank. Speaking of survivors, let's talk about the side cases. The only way to access the side cases is by talking to Otis via walkie-talkie, where Otis will give you a location of where the survivors or the psychopaths are to either save them and return them back to the surveillance room, or fending off the psychopaths, where some psychopaths like Cliff wanted to die with a cause, which I gotta say, it's sad to see him go. Then there's Aaron that turns good after getting his crotch lit and put out by a fire extinguisher. After defeating the psychopaths or getting the survivors to safety, you can level up. Leveling up Frank can go many other ways. Other than explaining the survivors and defeating the psychopaths, which give you massive XP, you can level up by doing photo shoots by different genres: drama, brutal, erotic, horror, and humor, and looking for special EXP stickers, or by reaching a zombie killing milestone every 100 zombie kills and upwards, which leveling Frank up allows him to carry more items, take more hits, or able to learn more skills to kill zombies with your own bare hands, allowing Frank to run fast and throw objects in greater distance to hit zombies or possibly kill them. Now when it comes to AIs, the survivors are somewhat helpful if a little bit brain dead. If they end up being stuck with some walls or objects, main problem of escorting the survivors back to safety, they have a range of not being able to move across from one plaza to another. Which means the survivors need to be on your ass if you're about ready to move across. Otherwise, those survivors will be standing still at the previous plaza and start losing health. It's just... god damn it. As for the psychopaths, they definitely put up a fight. Well, more importantly, Adam, creepy ass clown wielding 2 mini chainsaw and using other tricks up his sleeves. I hate him. And Cliff, rest in peace soldier, makes his fight a fight for your life, being more on your toes and focused on where he may pop up. And of course, going toe to toe with the captain of the cleanup squad, using your bare hands and the skills that you've unlocked. Now that guy truly gives the player a challenge. The controls of the game has an easy and simple layout, allowing the player to jump in and get right into it. From slashing zombies into pieces, to exploring the whole entire mall of Willamette. With the basic left analog stick to move Frank around, and the X or A button to make Frank jump. To let Frank reach high ground to avoid the zombies, we're able to climb on them and walk across them later on with one of the skills unlocked. The circle or B button to interact with the environment or to pick up weapons or food items, to heal or fend off the zombie horde. Since you're playing a photojournalist, you got a camera to take shots. To get into camera mode, hold down the R2 or RT and use the X and circle or A and B to zoom in or zoom out, and the square and X button to take a photo and gain experience from the photo you took. The square or X button to attack either bare hand or with a weapon in hand, or to heal with a food item. But with firearms, you can hold down the L2 or LT to go into a over-shoulder shooting position to get better aim with your firearm, or to throw your weapons at the zombies. To change through items, you got R1 and L1 or LB and RB to switch through the items you've picked up at the mall, with using the up button on the D-pad to switch to bare hands if you got empty slots, and the down button on the D-pad to drop your item. Oh boy, I have to talk about this button, huh? Now the triangle and Y button is to call out survivors to follow you, or hold the left trigger and pressing the triangle or Y button to make the survivors to stay on the spot. Problem with survivors though, they can be, dumb as a doorknob at some point, but are able to help out at some odd occasions if their brain cells are functioning. And last but not least, the left on the D-pad to hear Otis, and the right on the D-pad to look at your watch and to go through the cases and set a waypoint on which cases you want to tackle. Now the controls are somewhat smooth, but will have some moments of not responding. Well, if it was the original Xbox 360 game. But the Triple Threat Pack, it feels more responsive and able to hack and slash your way through the horde of zombies. Looking at the graphics, it looks amazing and lively, with the marble material allowing the light to reflect off the floor in each plaza, the color for each store, the lovely mixture of color palettes for different stores to make them stick out and easy to find for the players, whether they are looking for food or weapons they want to pick up. And the environment around the whole game, it looks awesome, with nice clear ripple for the water at the ponds or pools in different parts of the plaza. When it comes to music, there's some forgettable music when it comes to exploring the mall. You get some soft touch of mall music that can be missable when you're in the middle of hacking and slashing your way through a horde of zombies. But when it comes to psychopaths, however, now they bring in the heart-pumping action-packed music with rocking guitar riff or some pounding beats. They really ramp it up to make you, the player, feel like you are fighting for your life. As for cinematic music, they bring in a certain vibe of mysterious to make you feel like you're digging in deeper to understand what is going on at Willamette and feel like you're about to crack the scoop. Just listen to the original soundtrack and tell me what you think. If anything, I would love to listen to them in my downtime, working on scripts without a doubt.
Follow me! Come on!
Now looking at this game as a whole, it is a very interesting game design direction for Capcom, making another action horror zombie game. Being somewhat like Dawn of the Dead and other old school zombie movies that I may need to look, cause why not? Throwing the player into hundreds of thousands of zombies, and only way to kill those zombies is with everyday objects or using your own bare hands to take them out. The story of the main case is well worth the time, going up against Carlito, going to different plazas to investigate the outbreak and digging in deeper in overtime and taking out the major of the zombie cleanup squad and managed to escape Willamette. And with Capcom's success of Dead Rising, it managed to continue for 3 more installments and remastered for the PS4 and Xbox One. Though there was a Wii game of Dead Rising, but since I don't have that game for the Wii, I pretty much can't actually review the game as it is. The soundtrack is awesome to listen to when I'm going up against psychopaths. The graphics looks absolutely amazing, especially Capcom using the MT framework. Overall, the game is just awesome. If you're a massive fan of zombie games and want to use everyday objects, then this game is definitely for you. Just be prepared to go through hours of waiting till the next main case starts up. Are you guys waiting for a scoring system? Well, unfortunately there won't be any scoring system for this game review, and also yet future game reviews throughout the season. I thought it might be a good time to have no scoring system and just go back to the old school fashioned game review. So why not? Well, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's the game review for Dead Rising, but also yet the very first review for Planetary's Throwback Season 2 and the very first episode of our journey of the Dead Rising marathon, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I can actually find a way to get the hell out of this more as soon as possible. Hang on. Let me give this a try. Phew. Glad I got out of the mall. Ah, crud. Well, I might as well have a look around to see what the hell is going on here in this particular city. But yeah, that's going to be our next journey. Hopefully I can find my way back home as soon as possible. Oh well. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you actually like this video, feel free to actually leave a like and a comment down below of what you experienced for the Dead Rising series. And also yet, if you are also a new time traveler as well, feel free to leave that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can keep up to date of when and where I might be traveling to next time for the Planetary's Throwback series, but also yet for the Dead Rising marathon. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you for sticking around for our time traveling journey, and hopefully you enjoyed your time traveling journey one game at a time. Until then, this is Planetary signing off, and I'll see you guys next time. Ta-ta!